Hello, welcome to Trust Your Glitter. This is Christy Bellich. Instead of going live today, which I'm doing a live every day for the month of September as part of my Artist Way, but today I'm going to do audio. I'm fully leaning into my intuition, and the reason I'm doing audio, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to kind of put this into words. This is my Artist Way check-in. I am on week 8, which is strength. And I think I want to do this not live, because what I noticed with myself in general, and I did this with stand-up, is I become very mechanical, and maybe it's my Capricorn, but I'm like a worker. I'm a workaholic. Like, that's what I am. And it's just like anybody else with addictive patternings. My addictive patternings are fully around work. So, throughout my life, whenever I go through these phases where I'm like, okay, I've got to do the live, I got to do anytime I start to get obsessive with something, I know that it's getting to be unhealthy for me. And so I sat with myself today and I was like, I don't want to go live. And my body was screaming like, I don't want to do a live stream today. And then the workaholic in me was like, everybody's going to know you're a failure then. And then it's like, or I could just listen to my intuition and make the content I want to make. And maybe part of the going live was to commit to putting myself out there and leaning into the fact that I really want to be a home business and serve me right now. Just talking this out. Artist Way with a friend of mine who's in surgery today, and I'm really fucking nervous and scared for them, and like I know they're gonna be totally fine, but it's like, I don't know, like if it's like a natural human way of being like worried about things feeling good, or like things going good, or if things get just too happy or too joyful, that there's like this muscle in me that goes, be careful. Like, let yourself really check yourself before you really feel safe. And I know it's part of having trauma and being a survivor and like all these things. And I just know that right now I'm in these points where you're about to make an about face and turn a whole other way. It are terrifying. And I recognize that like my time in comedy, nobody really knows my name. I had probably more people against me than for me. I think that that's all part of the process of comedy, but I realized it had nothing to do with like being a well-known comic. And it's not that I want to be a well-known comic, it's that I just want to work, and I just want to do things, and I just want to not be at the mercy of others and live this life of not being able to fully take care of myself in the way I need to. And I think that that's what this process of the Artist Way this second time around has been, where it's been like, I moved to Austin because it was the only place I could go really fully, freely do stand-up in the state of Texas, and it served the time it needed to serve. But, that's a time when I still thought that I was a professional going to be a professional stand-up comedian. I think at this point in my life, I realized like I'm having like a come to Jesus moment with comedy, and I'm like, maybe it was just a healing assignment. you know? We all have seasons of our lives, and yeah, it was cool to be in the room with people I grew up watching on TV, but once you see things behind the scenes, you can't undo that knowledge. And I think the greatest knowledge is society has worshipped idols that we're told are better than us. And because we are a hierarchical, structured society, we're taught that the people that have the microphone are the people we need to listen to because we're just the underlings. And I will never not view myself as kind of part of this collective that has been subjected to that. I'll never, maybe I've been in rooms with people that have Netflix specials, which, back in the day coming up was an HBO special, which will eventually go into something else, And the reality is all this is fucking bullshit. To me. To other people, it's like the old life or death, it's life or death if you get into this club. It's life or death if you get this gig. It's life or death if you work with this comedian. It's life or death if this person shuns you. It's life or, and it's like, I'm starting to see the humor in all of it. I'm just starting to see yeah, but I was made to feel that way when I worked in science. It's life or death if this doctor doesn't approve of the fact that you're not staying overtime every day. It's like always the person with the microphone. And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe my ultimate mission right now, maybe I'll scratch myself off the internet. I don't know if we all can at some point. Maybe this is just an unattaching myself from thinking I need to have all this content online to be a human being. Because, I'm an old lady now. I can remember a time when the internet didn't exist. And I didn't have to deal with all this shit. It's a great tool, but it's also very toxic. And I started to see my toxic behavior come out when I'm like, oh my God, when I started panicking before doing live streams. And it's like, okay, you're not getting the point. That's not the point. It's not the point of doing live streams every day. It's to be of service and to be happy and to flow and to find your voice, to take back your power. And that's why you're doing this. It's not to be panicking whether it's perfect or not. Who cares? I had a discussion with a friend about comedy clubs the other night where it's just like, I decided to do comedy because it's the first place I felt free to speak and people were laughing and that felt awesome. And then it just became compare. Compare yourself to this person's Instagram page. Oh wait, now we have a new app, TikTok. Compare yourself to this. Oh wait, you don't have a ring light? Oh gosh, compare yourself to this person's lip injections. It's never going to stop. The bar is set from a narcissistic society, and we're all trying to please it. Then it's never going to be satisfied. Ever. Ever. The people in power are not there to be satisfied by what you're doing with your life. The people in power are there because something hurt them and they're needing to follow this ever-moving bar. And it is a cycle of trauma. And at the end of the day, I was thinking to myself, like, all these power structures that everybody wants, or certain people want to achieve, like whether it's these goals that people are setting for themselves, I honestly don't know what my goal is anymore. I don't. I have wishes, but it's like, are these wishes just because I was told this is what a comic is, and this, if you don't do this, then you're not a comedian? I honestly just want to get back to nature. And that's been something in my body since, since I was born. Is just be in nature. And I don't know what that means for me in my purpose, because I think a lot of women are going through this right now. I'm taking a class called Getting Freer from the Patriarchy, and it's a 9-month workshop. And I'm in 2 weeks in, and I'm already feeling like I have no idea who I am anymore. Because a huge piece of my identity was weaved into stand-up comedy. So much so that like every hour of my day, waking and sleeping, was dedicated to it. And I realized that like that addictive patterning was rooted in trauma so much, because I had to prove to so many people who I don't even speak to anymore that I was worthy of life, that I was just as worthy as they were, that I was just as worthy of being heard, or, you know, what I think that a lot of people that do comedy and entertainment, like, there's these phases where it's super pure, and then there's phases where you have to just step back and let the dirt come to the surface of, like, you know, what needs to be burnt off energetically. So I'm not gonna, so what? I failed today on my personal assignment of going live every day. But I think this is more important to step back and ask myself, you know, why am I still going live? And it's tough when, like, I look at my YouTube and it's like certain videos just sit at 1 or 2 views, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Is this a business I'm building, or am I just trying to satisfy my ego? Am I even worthy of having a voice? Am I even enough? Am I even, every day I sit with this. Every day. I'm not, and I was thinking about guru culture, that, like, recently I've been reconnected with 2 people I was in an ashram yoga development program with in 2012. And religious trauma seeps deep. And it doesn't matter what religion, because anything that tells you, like, you need to think this way because this way is the right way is really kind of fucked up. So that's why I'm, like, determined for the rest of my life to never have a religion, because I think every religion has similar messages. But at the same time, like, if there's anything where there's a person with a microphone, including me, like right now I have a microphone in front of my fucking face. Like, obviously, it's just so confusing. And it seeps in, like, the ashram program that I did seeped in so deeply that 2012, now it's 2023, and I still sit with the practices. And ultimately the practices were to connect inward. But all the other stuff where it's yes, it was a feminine ran ashram where the head Swami Radha, who had passed away in 1995, these were practices, but they were passed down through Shivananda, who was a guru in India. And my whole thing is, I'm not putting it, even as I talk about this, I'm, having a panic attack. Don't push back. No. But see, that's the thing. That's religious trauma. The ashram, taught, celibacy and, that sex is wrong and, women's feminine sensuality is wrong. And, it's so confusing to me because it's I honestly think that was more for the men, because a lot of those ashrams had a lot of abuse going on. And, of course, who takes the hit? Women. So it's oh yeah, we're all still pious here in this ashram in the mountains, which makes total practical sense because it keeps everything in the... But the thing is, my whole thing is shadow work. Doing shadow work has taught me the integrative experience of shadow is really important, because in Catholicism and Christianity, for example, the questions that I have with that is you have all these pastors and priests denying, saying, oh, you're evil, evil, go confess. And you drive around, I'll drive around in the South, I'm semi from the South, and even in the area I'm from, in certain parts of the state of Maryland, there are signs about God and God-fearing signs basically on the highways. So it seeps into our subconscious that we're these evil beings on this planet, and it's so confusing because it's well, how do we... And I'm talking about the divine feminine, sacred women, take back this power and say, actually, a lot of this is bullshit, and it's really also just men who are these gurus who have this apparently direct phone line to God. They can just text message God and let us know, and we're oh yeah, they know God. But the reality is the sacred feminine part of this whole aspect is Goddess knows. Women know. We are divine. We're divinely connected to the earth. And so I'm sitting here in this confusion because it's I have so many words for what I'm seeing, and yet I'm so scared to express them because what are we about to... There's a turning point here. In the next year, I really think this planet that we are on is going to hit a wall in the way that we... it's going to crack our heads open like eggshells. And what we are about to experience, just... COVID was just scratching the surface, and whatever is about to shift is really going to fuck with a lot of people's heads. And it's bigger than whether you've got a huge social media following or, the algorithm also gives people the microphone. I have friends in the spiritual community we've three now, me and two other people that I know, sharing spiritual things. And it seems that the positive posts cause us to get a warning on Instagram and not being able to comment or connect on comments, and you get banned for 2 weeks plus. What actually got me banned on Instagram was sharing to my Instagram stories from TikTok a short clip of Sarah Jakes Roberts preaching about women. And she's a Christian pastor, I think is the correct word, and out of Dallas. And I'm not Christian, but I really appreciated what she was saying because it was super empowering as opposed to what I hear preachers talking about. She was pushing the limits and she was really empowering the women in her congregation. And I was like, this is what's needed. And I shared that to my stories on my Instagram and got a warning immediately. What does that say about social media algorithm? What does that say about women's empowerment? What does that say about sisterhood? What does that say about the fact that social media really is just geared to one thing? And it's shaping our concept of reality. You know, I don't have any answers. I just have a shit ton of questions. And we're heading into a new season in the next less than 24 hours. I think by the time I upload this, it'll be maybe like 12 hours and counting. That we're heading into the fall equinox. And, you know, Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, but by Venus, I mean this is sacred feminine balance energy, and this shit's out of balance. And finding that medium between, I don't even know how to express what I'm feeling. But it's like we're waking up from this massive indoctrination. It's on all levels. And I feel like there's this sacred anger. And I feel like it's justified. And I think that a lot of the stuff that's under the surface that's waiting to be spoken about is going to find its way into the media. You know, I'm very confused about what's going on with Russell Brand. Because it's like, yet again, here's somebody, you know, with allegations against them in the comedy community. However, you know, it's taken a long time for this to surface. And the questions I have are, is it because of what they were talking about that this is happening? You know, when I'm an advocate for women and I am a survivor, and I am confused because at the same time, Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis coming out with a support video for him. And it's just like all this stuff always surfaces at the same time. It's like a cyclical thing. And with Russell, it's tough because I want to believe that he is here for the good, right? I want to believe that his heart, that the work that he moved into doing in the spiritual community and in the advocacy for change in society was for the better. I want deeply for that to be the truth. And I see a lot of astrologers, obviously because he's shifted into the spiritual community, there's a lot of astrologers who have their take on it and they're analyzing his chart. And I don't know is the answer. I'm so frustrated with this in particular, because the work he was doing was really awesome. And the work that he was voicing was really, really, really detailed. And he was doing the research. And he was interviewing people with, and at the same time, it's like, but I've been in the room with predators, and they're gregarious, and they're intoxicating to be around, and they have this way of, it's not even connecting to people, it's like it's like this energy that famous people have. There's a reason why there are people who are uber super famous. It's because they have a specific vibration to them. And people gravitate toward that. There's an orbit around them. There's an energy field to them. And so it's tough. It's tough to separate the work from what people are, saying on these people. And I think that is what the veil that is shedding for a lot of us, the shadow work, is like, why do we need these idols? What are they for the collective? Why do we need these people in these positions for us to practically worship? Like, I watched this podcast last night. It's the Hot Wings podcast, where NSYNC, a boy band from the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, was on eating hot wings. And I was like watching the podcast, and I was like thinking about how obsessed I was with NSYNC when I was younger. And I was just like watching these men eat hot wings and be very like, just the way they ate hot wings, like the way that they I don't know how to explain it. It didn't shatter a part of my idea, but it made me realize, like, these are idols. These are people that are made into being gods, and here they are eating these hot wings and going to have diarrhea later, and kind of looking at them and realizing, wow, we were really like brainwashed for a purpose. There was a purpose to this brainwashing. There was a purpose to all of it. Like, there's a reason why Britney Spears is going through what she's going through, and unfortunately has to go through it publicly. There's a reason why there's a mental illness to all of this. And I don't know what that's going to mean for me doing tarot live streams. Because I want to come at this from a very healthy perspective, as opposed to just trying to like slap social media up every day on my YouTube. I think it's helping me to get my voice sorted out, but it's also like entirely stepping me away from aspects of comedy that I thought I was, and maybe I was at the time. But now I'm growing, I'm maturing, I'm not that person anymore. And I think that's the scary part, is like, how do I evolve? And I don't know. I don't have any answers right now. I feel like a fledgling. I feel like I'm just trying to work it out as I go. So that's my thoughts here. This is my check-in for the artist's way. And I guess if I'm looking at the theme of strength, I think the biggest strength here is walking away from a very indoctrinated system. And just like any indoctrinated system, stand-up comedy has its like hierarchy and gurus and things that you have to do, places you have to be at, shows you have to be on, people you have to talk to, places you have to live. And it's like, I just don't, I'm too, maybe down the road, maybe something will shift in me and I'll realize I was wrong the whole time, and I'll go do those things everybody else is doing. And I would slap me on the wrist. But I just think there can be better. I think people can live a better life, a more quality life. And I think that's the ultimate goal. So thanks for listening. Trust your glitter. There's no answers on this podcast. So if you're still listening, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Pull yourself a tarot card today. If you don't have any tarot cards, there's, I think, tarot.com has like a virtual tarot deck you can just pull from. You can always pull just regular ass playing cards. And when you pull that playing card, Google what tarot card is associated with that and see how that feels for you. You can also just shred up a bunch of pieces of paper, put it in a hat with just phrases on it, and see which one you pull. That's what I like to call backyard tarot. Backyard tarot is you take a piece of notebook paper, write a bunch of empowering words or phrases or symbols, ball them up, shake it up in like a little box, shoebox, whatever the fuck you got, a bag, and then pull out one of the little balls you wrote on, unscrunch it, and see that's your tarot message, because all it is intuition. And ain't nobody no guru other than you. You're the one who knows you. And also really quality therapy. Other than that, motherfuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I have to say about that shit. Anyway, welcome to Libra season. It's gonna be a beautiful time. Libra, air sign, cardinal sign, which is leadership. Libra is air, which is our intellect. And what you want to look at are where Venus is. She's still in Leo. And what other planets connect with Venus? Taurus is also ruled by Venus. So Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus. And then Mars is also in Libra, which is the planet of action. So there's going to be a lot of just mental and physical. What is in the mental happens in the physical reality. But ultimately, I think what separates this is just follow Venus's transits, and I'll talk about when Venus enters Virgo. So we got some more lessons on the way with Miss Venus. Planet of love, creativity, romance, art, connection, ultimately. So lots of love, lots of truth. Take care.